You didn't find this video. This video found you. And I know how that sounds. I know it sounds like something pulled from the back of a greeting card or whispered by someone trying to sell you a crystal. But stay with me for a moment, because the fact that you're here right now, listening to these exact words at this exact moment in your life, that is not random. It is not an accident. It is not the algorithm being clever. Something in you responded to this. Something beneath the thinking mind, beneath the scrolling thumb, beneath the part of you that almost kept moving. Something stopped you. Something recognized this. And that something is what we need to talk about. Because most people did scroll past this. Most people saw the title, maybe felt a flicker of something, and then let the noise carry them forward. Another video, another notification, another distraction. But you didn't. You stopped. You clicked. You're here. And that tells me more about you than you might realize. There's a term that gets thrown around, and it's been diluted almost beyond recognition. Chosen one. Say it out loud, and it sounds like something from a movie trailer. It sounds grandiose, inflated, maybe even delusional. And honestly, the way most people use it, it is. It's been turned into spiritual flattery, a way to make people feel important without asking them to do anything difficult. But if you strip away the theatrics, if you peel off the layers of fantasy and ego and mystical performance, what you find underneath is something far more real and far more demanding than any movie could capture. Being chosen doesn't mean you were plucked from a crowd by some cosmic hand and placed on a pedestal. It doesn't mean you're better. It doesn't mean you're more worthy. It doesn't mean you get to skip the suffering or bypass the work. What it means, what it has always meant, is that you carry a frequency that doesn't match the world you were born into. You see things others don't see. You feel things others don't feel. You sense currents running beneath the surface of everyday life that most people have no awareness of. And this has not made your life easier. If anything, it has made everything harder. Because you've spent most of your life trying to reconcile what you perceive with what everyone around you insists is real. Let that land for a moment. Think about your childhood, not the version you tell people about, but the real one. The one where you understood things too early, where you looked at the adults around you and saw their pain before they did, where you asked questions that made rooms go quiet. Not because the questions were inappropriate, but because they were too accurate. You could feel the tension beneath the smiles. You could sense when someone was lying, even when every word they said was technically true. You knew things you had no logical reason to know, and instead of being celebrated for this, you were told to stop. Stop being so sensitive. Stop overthinking. Stop making everything so deep. Be normal. Be lighter. Be less. And so you learned. Not the lesson they intended, but a different one entirely. You learned that what you perceive is dangerous, that your natural way of seeing the world makes others uncomfortable, that the safest thing you can do is hide the very thing that makes you who you are. You learned to translate yourself into a language that wasn't yours. You learned to perform a version of normal that cost you everything and fooled almost everyone. Almost. Because there was always that one person who looked at you a little too long. That one moment in a conversation where someone said something that went deeper than the script, and your whole body lit up with recognition. Those moments were rare, but they kept you alive in ways you might not have fully understood until right now. Here's what nobody tells you about carrying this kind of awareness. It doesn't arrive with a manual. There's no orientation, no welcome packet, no guide standing at the threshold saying, "Here's what you are, and here's what to do with it." Instead, you get dropped into a world that operates on frequencies you can barely tolerate, surrounded by people who seem perfectly content with arrangements that make you feel like you are suffocating. And the most disorienting part is that they're not pretending. They genuinely don't feel what you feel. They genuinely don't see what you see, which means either something is wrong with them or something is wrong with you. And for most of your life, you assumed it was you. It wasn't you. Think of it this way. Imagine a radio. Most people are tuned to a specific band. They pick up the stations that everyone agrees exist, the mainstream channels, the consensus frequencies, pop music, morning talk shows, the sounds that fill the background of ordinary life. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those stations serve a purpose. They create shared experience, common ground, the social glue that holds communities together. But your dial is set differently. You're picking up signals from bands that most people don't even know are there. Shortwave, deep frequency, transmissions that carry information from places that don't show up on conventional maps. You're not malfunctioning. Your receiver is just built for something else entirely. And this is why you've always felt like you're living in two worlds simultaneously. One foot in the reality everyone shares, the jobs, the small talk, the grocery stores and traffic and birthday parties, and one foot in something else. Something vast and wordless and achingly real that you can feel but can never quite explain. You've tried. You've tried to put language around it. You've tried to describe it to people you trust, and you've watched their eyes glaze over or their faces tighten with concern. And eventually, you stopped trying. You folded that part of yourself into a smaller and smaller space, tucked it behind the performance of normalcy, and told yourself that maybe they were right. Maybe you were just too much. Too intense, too sensitive, too strange. But something is happening now, isn't it? Something has been shifting. Maybe it started recently. Maybe it started years ago, and you're only now finding the courage to acknowledge it. The performance is failing. The mask is cracking. The version of you that you built to survive in a world that couldn't hold your depth, that version is running out of power. And it feels terrifying. It feels like falling apart, like losing your grip on the only identity that ever kept you safe. But what if it's not falling apart? What if it's falling away? What if the structures that are crumbling were never yours to begin with? What if the life that feels like it's ending is the life you were never meant to live? Breathe into that for a moment. If this is resonating with something deep inside you, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss what comes next. There's a phenomenon in quantum physics that most people have heard of, but very few have truly sat with. The observer effect. At the subatomic level, particles exist in a state of pure potential, a wave of probability, until the moment they are observed. The act of observation itself is what collapses the wave into a specific, measurable reality. Before observation, everything is possible. After observation, one possibility becomes real. Now, most people hear this and think it's a neat fact about tiny particles that has nothing to do with their daily life. But what if it has everything to do with your daily life? What if the same principle that governs the behavior of electrons also governs the behavior of your experience? What if your awareness, your attention, Your consciousness is not passively witnessing reality, but actively participating in its creation. This is not metaphor. This is not wishful thinking dressed up in scientific language. The most rigorous experiments in modern physics have confirmed again and again that consciousness and reality are not separate, that the observer and the observed are entangled in ways that our classical understanding of the world cannot explain. And if that's true, if awareness itself shapes what becomes real, then the quality of your awareness matters more than anything else in your life, more than your circumstances, more than your history, more than the story you've been telling yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. This is where it gets interesting. Because you, the person listening to this right now, you have a quality of awareness that is uncommon. Not superior. Uncommon. You notice things that others miss. You feel the emotional weather of a room before anyone speaks. You sense when systems are about to break before there's any visible evidence. You carry a depth of perception that, when you stop fighting it and start honoring it, becomes something extraordinary. Not extraordinary in the way the ego wants, not fame or recognition or applause. Extraordinary in the way that actually matters. The ability to see truth in a world drowning in performance. But here's the part that most people who talk about being chosen conveniently leave out. This awareness comes with a cost. A real, daily, sometimes crushing cost. Because when you can see clearly, you can also see clearly what is not working. In your relationships, in your career, in the systems and structures that everyone around you seems content to participate in. You see the misalignment, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You cannot go back to pretending it's fine. And this creates a particular kind of suffering that is almost impossible to explain to someone who hasn't experienced it. It's not the suffering of not having enough. It's the suffering of seeing too much. It's the suffering of being in a room full of people who are all agreeing to ignore the elephant. And you're the only one who can't stop staring at it. Not because you want to be difficult. Not because you enjoy being the one who disrupts the consensus. But because your system literally will not let you participate in the pretense. Your body rejects it. Your energy withdraws from it. Your nervous system sounds an alarm every time you try to force yourself into alignment with something that isn't true. I want to hear from you on this. When was the first time you realized you were perceiving something that everyone around you seemed completely blind to? Drop that moment in the comments. I think you'll be surprised how many others here share that exact experience. And this is where so many people like you get lost, because the world has a very effective system for dealing with people who see too much. It pathologizes them. It calls their perception a disorder. It labels their sensitivity a dysfunction. It offers them medication to dull the signal and therapy to help them adjust to a reality that was never designed for them. And some of that can be genuinely helpful, don't misunderstand me. But the underlying message is always the same. The problem is you. Your perception is the issue. If you could just see less, feel less, notice less, everything would be fine. But what if your perception isn't the problem? What if your perception is the point? Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt something was off, said nothing because you didn't want to cause trouble, and then watched exactly what you sensed play out? Have you ever known in your body that a decision was wrong, overridden that knowing because it didn't make logical sense, and then paid the price? Have you ever looked at someone and seen not just who they were presenting themselves to be, but who they actually were underneath, and felt the gap between those two things like a physical weight. This isn't imagination. This isn't anxiety dressed up as intuition. This is your instrument working exactly as it was designed to work. And every time you override it, every time you silence it to keep the peace or maintain the performance, you betray something fundamental in yourself. Not in a dramatic, poetic way, in a real, physiological way. Your body keeps the score of every truth you swallowed. Your nervous system carries the tension of every moment you chose belonging over honesty. And eventually, that tension becomes unbearable. Eventually, the cost of self-betrayal exceeds the cost of being seen. That's what's happening to you right now. That's why you're here. Something in you has reached a threshold. The old strategies aren't working anymore. The performance that used to cost you energy, but at least kept you safe, it's no longer keeping you safe. It's making you sick. Maybe literally. Maybe your body has been sending you signals for months or years. Fatigue that sleep doesn't fix. Tension that massage doesn't release. A heaviness that has nothing to do with your physical circumstances and everything to do with the weight of living as someone you're not. This is not a breakdown. This is a breakthrough trying to happen. And the difference between those two things is entirely a matter of perception. If you interpret what's happening as evidence that you're falling apart, you'll fight it. You'll try to rebuild the old structures. You'll reach for the familiar coping mechanisms, and you'll suffer more. But if you can shift your perception, even slightly, and begin to see this dissolution as the necessary clearing of space for something more real, something more aligned, something more true, then everything changes. Not the circumstances, not yet, but the meaning. And meaning is what determines how you move through experience. Meaning is the lens through which chaos becomes pattern and suffering becomes initiation. In many ancient traditions, there's a concept that maps almost perfectly onto what modern physics describes with the observer effect. It's the understanding that consciousness is not a byproduct of reality. It is the ground of reality. That awareness doesn't emerge from matter. Matter emerges from awareness. The mystics said it in their language. The physicists are saying it in theirs. And both are pointing to the same staggering truth. You are not a passive witness to a pre-existing world. You are an active participant in the creation of the world you experience. Your frequency, your state of being, your internal coherence or incoherence. These are not private, internal matters. They are creative forces that shape the field of possibility around you. This is why your inner state matters so much more than your outer strategy. This is why no amount of doing will compensate for a misalignment in being. You can execute the perfect plan, follow every step, do everything right by the world's standards, and still feel hollow, still feel lost, still feel like you're building someone else's dream with your own hands. Because the doing was never the problem. The being was. And being cannot be faked. It cannot be performed. It can only be inhabited. So what does it mean to actually inhabit your being? Not the concept of it. Not the Instagram version of it. The real, messy, uncomfortable, electrifying reality of it. It means you stop curating your experience and start feeling it. All of it. The grief you've been postponing. The anger you've been spiritualizing away. The desire you've been calling selfish. The power you've been calling too much. It means you stop treating your emotional body like a problem to be managed, and start recognizing it as the most sophisticated navigation system you possess. Your emotions are not noise, they are signal. They are your body's way of communicating information that your mind is too slow or too conditioned to process. And when you learn to listen to them, not react to them, not be controlled by them, but listen to them with the same respect you'd give any trusted advisor, your entire relationship with reality shifts. Here's where most spiritual teachings fail. They tell you to transcend your emotions, to rise above them, to observe them from some detached, peaceful vantage point where nothing touches you. And there's a version of that which is useful, the ability to create space between stimulus and response, the capacity to witness without being consumed. But too often, transcendence becomes another form of avoidance, another way to not feel what needs to be felt, another performance, this time wearing spiritual clothing instead of worldly ones. The chosen ones who actually fulfill what they came here to do are not the ones who transcend their humanity. They're the ones who go deeper into it, who feel more, not less, who allow the full spectrum of human experience to move through them without resistance, and in doing so, become conduits for something that can only flow through an open system. You cannot channel what you're meant to channel through a closed heart. You cannot transmit what you're meant to transmit through a body locked in defense. The very sensitivity that the world told you was your weakness is the instrument through which your purpose flows. And every time you armor against it, every time you numb it, every time you try to be less affected by life, you're not protecting yourself. You're blocking the signal. This is why the path of the chosen one is not a path of accumulation. It's a path of stripping away, not adding more knowledge, more techniques, more strategies, but removing the layers of protection that are blocking what's already there. You don't need to become anything. You need to stop pretending you're something you're not. The truth of who you are is not a destination you arrive at. It's a presence you allow. And allowing is the hardest thing a human being can do, because allowing means surrendering control, and control is the last thing the conditioned self will release. Tell me in the comments, what is the one mask or performance you're most ready to finally let go of? Name it. There's power in being witnessed in that truth. Feel into that for a moment. Feel into the part of you that grips, the part that plans and strategizes and tries to figure out the next step before the current one is complete. That part has served you. It kept you alive in environments that weren't safe for your full expression. It learned to anticipate danger, to manage perception, to stay 3 steps ahead of rejection, and you can honor it for that. But its time as the primary operator of your life is ending, not because you're killing it, but because something deeper is emerging that requires the space it's been occupying. This emergence is what many traditions call awakening. But that word, like chosen one, has been so overused and so misunderstood that it's almost lost its meaning. So let me describe what it actually feels like. Not the glamorous version, but the real one. It feels like the ground disappearing beneath your feet. It feels like everything you were certain about becoming uncertain. It feels like the identity you spent decades constructing, revealing itself to be a house of cards, and then it feels like standing in the rubble of that identity, exposed and raw and terrified, and discovering that you're still here. That the you that remains when everything else falls away is not diminished. It's infinite. It's the you that existed before the story, before the name, before the roles and the wounds and the adaptations. It's the you that has been watching all of this unfold with a patience and a love that the thinking mind cannot comprehend. And from that place, from that bedrock of unconditioned awareness, everything looks different. Not because reality changed, but because the lens through which you were perceiving reality has been cleaned. The distortions of conditioning, of trauma, of inherited belief systems, they don't disappear entirely, but they become transparent. You can see through them. You can feel their pull without being controlled by it. And in that space between stimulus and response, in that gap where awareness lives, you find something you've been searching for your entire life. Freedom. Not freedom from circumstances. Freedom from the false self that was suffering within those circumstances. If this video is awakening something in you, what we have explored here only touches the surface. My complete guide, Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery, walks you through the full system of 9 master frequencies, step by step, from transforming resistance into creative power to living as the field itself rather than separate from it. It is linked in the pinned comment below. I want to address something directly because I can feel some of you wrestling with it. There's a voice in your head right now, and it's saying something like, "This sounds nice, but it's not practical." It's saying, "I have bills to pay, I have responsibilities, I can't just sit around contemplating my consciousness while the real world demands my attention." And that voice is not wrong, it's just incomplete. Because here's what happens when you begin to align your inner state with your actual truth. The external world doesn't become irrelevant. It becomes responsive. When you stop leaking energy into the maintenance of a false self, suddenly there's energy available for creation. Real creation. Not the frantic productivity that comes from anxiety and the need to prove yourself, but the effortless expression that comes from a system that's finally running its native program. The ideas that have been trying to reach you but couldn't get through the noise of your performance, they start arriving. The connection that were always available but invisible because you were vibrating at the wrong frequency, they start appearing. The opportunities that seemed to exist for everyone except you, they start showing up. Not because the universe is rewarding you for being spiritual, but because you finally stopped jamming your own signal. This is the practical application of everything we've been exploring. Your frequency is not a metaphor. It's a measurable electromagnetic field generated by your heart and brain in coherence or incoherence. Research from institutions studying heart-brain coherence has demonstrated that when your internal state is aligned, when your heart and brain are generating coherent electromagnetic patterns, you literally process information differently. You perceive more accurately. You respond more creatively. You influence the field around you in measurable ways. This isn't mysticism. This is biology operating at a level that most people never access because they're too busy maintaining the performance to drop into coherence. So when I say your frequency matters, I mean it literally. The state you carry is not just affecting your mood. It's affecting your perception, your decisions, your relationships, your health, and the field of possibility that surrounds you. And when you shift that state, not through force or willpower, but through the genuine alignment that comes from living as who you actually are, the external world has no choice but to reorganize around the new signal you're broadcasting. But here's the thing that separates the people who hear this and nod from the people who hear this and transform. It's not more information. You already have enough information. You probably have more spiritual and psychological knowledge than you know what to do with. The gap isn't in your understanding. It's in your embodiment. You know the truth. You just haven't been living it. And the distance between knowing and living is where all suffering lives. So let's close that distance. Right now. Not tomorrow. Not when conditions are perfect. Not when you've finished reading that book, or completed that course, or finally figured out your purpose. Now, I want you to do something simple. Not easy, but simple. I want you to take a breath, a real one. Not the shallow, automatic breathing you've been doing while your mind races ahead to the next thought. A breath that goes all the way down, into your belly, into your pelvis, into the parts of your body that you've been living above for years. Breathe into the places you've been avoiding, the tightness in your chest, the knot in your throat, the heaviness in your gut. Don't try to fix any of it. Don't try to release it or heal it or transform it. Just breathe into it. Just let your awareness touch it. Just be with it. This is the practice, not the preliminary to the practice, not the warm-up before the real work begins. This is it, being with what is, without agenda, without the need to change it, without the story about what it means or where it came from or how to make it go away. Just presence, just contact, just the radical act of being here, fully, with whatever is actually happening in your body right now. And if you did that, even for a few seconds, you just did something that most people on this planet will never do. You stopped performing. You stopped managing. You stopped running the program. And you made contact with the living intelligence of your own body. The intelligence that has been trying to guide you your entire life. The intelligence that speaks not in words, but in sensation, in impulse, in the quiet knowing that lives beneath the noise of the conditioned mind. This intelligence is not separate from the intelligence that organizes galaxies and grows forests and turns seeds into trees. It's the same intelligence, operating through you, as you. And when you learn to listen to it, when you learn to trust it, when you learn to let it guide you instead of overriding it, with the mind's desperate need for control, your life begins to move in ways that the strategic mind could never have planned. Not because you've given up agency, but because you've aligned your agency with something infinitely more intelligent than your personal will. This is what the ancient traditions meant when they spoke of surrender. Not passivity, not resignation, not giving up, but giving over, allowing the deeper current to carry you. Trusting that the intelligence that grew you from 2 cells into a fully formed human being, that keeps your heart beating and your lungs breathing without any conscious effort on your part, that this intelligence might also know something about where you're meant to go and what you're meant to do. The mind will resist this. The mind will say, "That's irresponsible. That's naive. That's dangerous." And the mind is not entirely wrong to be cautious. Surrender without discernment becomes spiritual bypassing. Trust without grounding becomes delusion. The path of the chosen one is not about abandoning the mind. It's about putting the mind in its proper place, as a brilliant tool in service to a deeper wisdom, rather than the terrified dictator it's been pretending to be. Now let me address the loneliness, because I know it's there. I know it's been there for a long time, and I know that no amount of social activity, or relationship status or community membership has fully touched it. Because this loneliness isn't about being alone, it's about being unseen. It's about carrying a depth of experience that you've never been able to fully share with another human being. It's about knowing that the most real parts of you, the parts that light up when you contemplate the nature of consciousness or feel the pulse of something sacred moving through an ordinary moment, those parts have no audience, no witness, no mirror. And that ache, that specific ache of being deeply present in a world that seems largely absent, that is perhaps the most defining experience of what it means to be chosen. Not chosen for glory, chosen for awareness. And awareness, real awareness, is the loneliest thing in the world. Until it isn't. Because here's what starts to happen as you stop hiding, as you stop performing, as you stop translating yourself into a language that diminishes what you actually perceive. You begin to emit a signal, not intentionally, not strategically, just naturally. The way a tuning fork vibrates at its natural frequency when struck, and that signal reaches people you've never met. It draws experiences you couldn't have planned. It creates resonance in the field that attracts other beings who are vibrating at a similar frequency. And when you meet them, and you will meet them, something happens that defies explanation. The conversation goes deep immediately, not because you're forcing it, but because there's no resistance, no pretense, no translation required. You speak, and they hear not just your words, but the frequency beneath them. They see you, not the performance, not the adapted self, you. And in that seeing, something heals that you didn't even know was wounded. The wound of invisibility, the wound of being too much for a world that asked you to be less. These connections are not random. They are the universe's way of confirming that you are not alone in this, that the frequency you carry is not a malfunction, that there are others scattered across the globe who have been living the same impossible paradox of being deeply connected to something most people can't perceive while feeling profoundly disconnected from the world that everyone else seems to navigate with ease. And together, not in some organized, institutional way, but in the organic, living way that consciousness naturally self-organizes, you begin to create something new. Not a movement, not a brand, not a following. A field, a coherent field of awareness that serves as a kind of permission slip for everyone it touches. Permission to feel what they actually feel. Permission to see what they actually see. Permission to stop performing and start being. This is your function. This is what chosen for actually means, not chosen to receive. Chosen to transmit, not chosen to be elevated, chosen to be honest, not chosen to escape the human experience, chosen to go so deeply into it that you find the divine at the bottom. And this brings us to the thing you've been sensing, the thing that's been pulling at you from just beyond the edge of your current understanding. You can feel it, can't you? That sense that something is trying to come through you. Not an idea exactly, not a plan, something more like a presence, a quality of being that wants to be expressed through your specific instrument, your body, your voice, your way of seeing, your particular configuration of wounds and gifts and hard-won wisdom. Stop trying to name it. Stop trying to turn it into a career path or a social media strategy or a 5-year plan. What's trying to emerge doesn't fit into any existing container. It's going to require you to build new ones. And you can't build them from blueprints because these blueprints don't exist yet. They're being drawn in real time, through you, as you take each step without knowing where it leads. This is the terrifying beauty of your path. You don't get the map, you get the compass. And the compass is your body, your felt sense, your knowing that operates beneath the level of logic and speaks in the language of resonance and dissonance, expansion and contraction, yes and no. Learn to read that compass. Trust it more than you trust any external authority, more than you trust any teacher, any system, any tradition. Not because those things have no value, but because the final authority on your path is the intelligence that lives in your own cells. The same intelligence that chose this life, this body, this precise configuration of challenges and gifts, for reasons that your mind may never fully comprehend, but your being already knows. You've been waiting for permission. You've been waiting for someone to look at you and say, "Yes, you're the one. You're ready. Go ahead." But that permission was never going to come from outside you. The whole point of your journey, the whole purpose of the isolation and the not belonging and the years of feeling like something was fundamentally wrong, was to bring you to this moment. The moment where you stop looking outward for confirmation of what you've always known inward. You are not broken. You were never broken. You were just operating in an environment that had no framework for what you are. Like a deep-sea creature trying to survive on land, gasping for breath in an atmosphere that wasn't designed for your biology. The problem was never you. The problem was the environment. And now, finally, you're beginning to rasa the environment that matches your nature. Not by changing the world, but by changing your relationship to it. By no longer asking it to validate what only you can validate. By no longer waiting for it to make space for you and instead making space for yourself. This is sovereignty, not the aggressive fortress-building kind. The quiet, rooted, unshakable kind. The kind that comes from knowing who you are so deeply that no external circumstance can convince you otherwise. The kind that doesn't need to argue or defend or prove. It just is. The way a mountain just is. The way the ocean just is. Present. Undeniable. Uninterested in being anything other than what it is. And from that sovereignty, something remarkable happens. You stop trying to fix the world and start being the frequency that the world needs. Not through effort, through presence, not through strategy, through coherence. Your very existence, when aligned with your actual nature, becomes a transmission that shifts the field around you. People feel it. They can't always name it, but they feel calmer in your presence. They feel more honest. They feel permission to drop their own masks, even if just for a moment. And that moment is enough. That moment is the seed. You don't need to save anyone. You don't need to wake anyone up. You don't need to convince a single soul of anything. You just need to be what you are. Fully, unapologetically. Without the cushioning, without the translation, without the dimmer switch you've been using to make your light tolerable to people who've grown comfortable in the dark. The world doesn't need more information. It's drowning in information. It doesn't need more strategies or systems or solutions generated by the same level of consciousness that created the problems. What it needs, what it is starving for, is presence. Real, embodied, unperformative presence. The kind that can only come from someone who has done the brutal, beautiful work of stripping away everything false and standing in what remains. That's you. That's what you've been being prepared for through every moment of confusion, every season of isolation, every night you lay awake wondering why you couldn't just be normal. Every one of those experiences was not punishment. It was preparation. Refining your instrument, deepening your capacity, expanding the range of frequencies you can hold without shattering. And you didn't shatter. You're still here. After everything. After the misunderstanding and the loneliness and the grief of watching yourself perform a life that wasn't yours. After the dark nights that no one knew about. After the moments where you seriously wondered if you'd make it through. You're still here. And that resilience is not just survival. It's evidence of something in you that is indestructible. Something that the world's conditioning could not reach. Something that remained intact beneath every adaptation, every mask, every compromise. That something is what's emerging now. Not a new version of you. The original version. The version that existed before the world told you who to be. The version that knew before language, before logic, before the mind learned to doubt, that it came here for a reason. That version doesn't need to be created. It needs to be uncovered. And every act of authenticity, every moment of choosing truth over comfort, every breath taken in full presence, is another layer removed from the masterpiece that was always underneath. So here's what happens now. You stop waiting. You stop preparing to begin. You stop consuming content about transformation and start being transformed. Not through some dramatic, cinematic moment of revelation. Through the quiet, daily, unglamorous practice of being honest. With yourself first, then with the world. You say what you see. You feel what you feel. You stop apologizing for the depth of your perception and start letting it guide you. Some people will leave. Let them go. Their departure is not evidence of your failure. It's evidence of your frequency shifting. And the space they leave behind will not stay empty for long. It will be filled by connection that match where you're going, not where you've been. People who don't need you to be less. People who aren't threatened by your depth. People who meet you in the place you've been living alone for so long that you forgot anyone else could reach it. And in those connections, in that resonance, you'll find something you may have given up hoping for. Home. Not a place, a frequency. A quality of being shared with others who have walked similar paths through similar darkness and emerged carrying similar light. Not identical, similar. Because your specific light is yours alone. Your specific medicine is yours alone. And the world needs it precisely because it cannot be replicated by anyone else. This was never about being chosen above others. It was about being chosen for something specific, a task that only your particular combination of sensitivity and strength, of wounding and wisdom, of seeing and feeling could accomplish. Not a grand world stage task necessarily. Maybe. But maybe something quieter, a conversation that changes someone's trajectory, a presence that gives permission. A way of being that plants seeds in soil you'll never see bloom. The scale doesn't matter. The authenticity does. You've been carrying something the world told you was too heavy, too strange, too much. What if it was always meant to be your offering? Not because it makes you special, but because it makes you useful in a way that no one following a script could ever be. The discomfort won't fully disappear. The sense of not quite fitting will remain. But the meaning of it transforms entirely when you stop seeing it as evidence of your brokenness and start recognizing it as evidence of your assignment. You were not built for comfort. You were built for truth. And truth has edges that cut through the comfortable agreements most people use to get through their days. That cutting is not cruelty. It's clarity.